I'm going to start first and foremost by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and who still lead as examples to the flock. Honors also to you, brothers, who are pushing this word sincerely for that penny a day. And to the rest of you believers, Shalom. Now, when we, discuss, CBDC adoption, central bank digital currencies, which is going to be the new form of money, in the near future. When we talk about, opposition, to CBDCs, we usually talk about just the regular population, regular people on the street not wanting to move away from cash and stuff like that. But what we don't normally talk about is the reluctance for traditional banks, to support this. So here in Jamaica, we have had a central bank digital currency called the JAM-DEX, or the Jamaica Digital Exchange, and it's been on the market since June 2023, I believe. So it's been on the market for a while now, and still the adoption has been very, very low, and the government of Jamaica is now venting, their frustration, through the governor of the BOJ, the Bank of Jamaica. They're venting their frustration with the local banks, what they call deposit-taking institution. So I'm going to play this news clip, fair use, fair use. This lesson is only for edification. It's not for monetary use. So fair use, fair use. I'm going to play this this news clip from TVJ. This is one of the local news, the local channels here in Jamaica. So it says BOJ, which is the Bank of Jamaica, says banks partly to be blamed for low uptake of JAM-DEX. So here we go.
Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Bank of Jamaica Governor Richard Miles is accusing banks of standing in the way of efforts to modernize the digital economy. He was responding to concerns at a press briefing this week about the poor uptake of JAM-DEX. More in this report.
Things are looking up for the BOJ's Jamaica Digital Exchange JAM-DEX program.
We saw value transactions for 2025 being about 550% higher than 2024. And of course, volumes were also about 67% higher.
But it's not because more customers are signing up. Instead, BOJ officials say it's because of increased activity by persons who are already registered. But there are limitations pertaining to where the digital currency can be used. BOJ Governor Richard Miles contends that deposit-taking institutions are partly to be blamed.
I have to express a little disappointment in the DTIs. I don't think they...
All right, so just for edification's sake, DTIs are deposit-taking institution. All right, so banks, credit unions, so on and so forth.
fully appreciate how important digitization of payments throughout the economy is to a modern economy and is to the plans that the government as a whole has to make business more efficient.
Right. AKA, he has an agenda, right, that he's following. And that agenda comes all the way up from the United Nations and World Bank, IMF, Inter-American Development Bank, the Bank of International Settlements. These international global bodies are what are pushing, the new economic agenda, which is centered around CBDCs, tokenization, digital identity, and then ultimately the implantable microchip. So all these different digital agenda that you see being pushed, globally, is just setting up the framework, that is necessary for when they roll out the mandatory implementation or implantation of the RFID microchip. So he's saying that the banks are standing in the way of that. He's not going to explicitly say that we need to follow this agenda that has been set from above. He's just going to say, you're standing in the way of digitizing and making it easier to do business in Jamaica, right?
Cannot have an efficient business environment, fostering growth, when you have such a high reliance on cash.
He insists that banks stand to benefit from JAM-DEX.
A lot of the bad reputation that banks have has to do with handling of cash. It is expensive for them and it is expensive for business.
And we see that being highlighted more and more. I did a video on this a couple weeks back, where the media here in Jamaica, both social media and mainstream media, have been highlighting the issues that Jamaicans are having with the ATMs, with the high fees that have been introduced by banks on their accounts, So all these different things are being highlighted right now, and then you have something like this, right?
So the banks need to prioritize this issue more. Every year they have been saying, boy, they have this other technology thing to do. I have this other one to do. Come on. This is important and it's been waiting in line for years. The Bank of Jamaica has been ready, able to do JAM-DEX throughout the economy for 3 years.
It's why the BOJ has been pushing for point-of-sale machines to be converted to take the JAM-DEX code.
We want, whenever any Jamaican goes into a shop, supermarket, that the POS machine that they run their debit card on, credit card on, that machine also takes JAM-DEX. That's, can you believe that? For years, that is what we are trying to get done. And we have found a technical solution, That solution exists and works.
But it is costly. The banks have long argued that the upgrades required will need substantial investment. In response,
and we have said we'll pay half of that cost.
JAM-DEX was rolled out in 2021. For the business day.
All right. So I went to the chat, to just get some more information, the AI mode here. Why might local banks in Jamaica be reluctant to implement measures supporting Jamaica's CBDCs? Right? So they say it's primarily due to a lack of high costs and lack of direct profits. There it is right there. That's the reason. And we won't get into it more. Right? Key barriers to adoption, and this first one is very, very important. Right? Zero fee revenue model. Because JAM-DEX is free for consumers to use, banks cannot charge the transactions they typically earn from credit and debit card. Right? And then we're going to go down to this other one here. Right? It says, beyond the immediate cost of technology and lost fees, traditional banks face existential risk, right? When a CBDC like JAM-DEX becomes popular. The risk of disintermediation. This is the biggest fear for banks. If people move their money from private bank account into CBDC wallets, the bank loses its primary source of funding, your deposits, your money in their accounts, right? Because banks use your deposits to fund loans, mortgages, car loans, all of that. So if deposits disappear, banks must pay higher interest rates to attract consumers back, which makes loans more expensive for everyone, reduce liquidity. During a financial scare, customers might move all their money into a risk-free CBDC, causing a digital bank run, right? Loss of data and customer ownership. Banks thrive on knowing your spending habits to sell you other products. Yeah, because they can track everything that you do, right? Direct relationships. If you use a government-backed wallet, the bank is no longer the middleman seeing every transaction. Cross-selling. It is harder for a bank to offer you a pre-approved loan if they can't track your JAM-DEX cash flow, right? So all these different things, are pushing them to be reluctant, to draw their foot, as the saying is for implementing this. But eventually they will have to, because the government has measures to go around that, right? So the government can use authorized payment service providers. The Bank of Jamaica specifically designed JAM-DEX to be distributed through non-bank entities, right? So fintech wallets, companies like Link, though it's currently a NCB subsidiary, which NCB is one of the banks here in Jamaica, represent the primary vehicle for distribution, right? Direct government disbursement. Government can bypass bank infrastructure to put JAM-DEX directly into citizens' hands through social programs, right? And sign-up incentives, retail and agent network. So there are ways for the government to go around the banks, but the problem, the main problem that the Bank of Jamaica wants to solve before it pushes ahead with this is the retrofitting of the point of sales machines, right? That you see, you swipe your card at or you tap your card at. They want those to be retrofitted to also accept the JAM-DEX code. Once that is done, and I've been saying this for as long as for 3 years now, since JAM-DEX has been introduced. I've always been saying this. The moment those point of sales machine have been adopted, have been retrofitted to accept the JAM-DEX code, that's it. That's it. Because now you can use it everywhere. Because the primary pain point that the Bank of Jamaica has is that when you're using JAM-DEX now, it's primarily through peer-to-peer transactions. So if the person you're buying or you're doing business with doesn't have a JAM-DEX wallet, it's hard to do transaction with them. But if point of sale machines are ubiquitous, they're everywhere. They're at the corner shop, they're at gas station, they're at the supermarket, they're at the pharmacy, they're everywhere. Point of sale machines are everywhere, and people use their debit and credit cards everywhere, right? If you can use your JAM-DEX wallet, you know, at any of these point of sale machines, you know what can happen? No, the government can pay government workers through JAM-DEX. No, they can give out government benefits like the PATH benefits, your pension, national insurance scheme. All these things can be given out with JAM-DEX because now it's accepted everywhere. But one of the ways that they're going around is the let me see if I can type this in. How is the link virtual card solving this problem for the Bank of Jamaica? All right, let's see what it says here. And I'll get to, precept. It says the link virtual card addresses the deadlock between the BOJ and the traditional banks by turning JAM-DEX from a restricted digital currency into a globally accepted payment method. It effectively solves the utility gap, the problem where people have JAM-DEX but nowhere to spend it. Right? The biggest hurdle for JAM-DEX was that most merchants didn't have the QR code technology to accept it. The solution, the virtual card, is powered by Visa. Instead of waiting for every corner shop to upgrade their system, users can now spend their link balance, including converted JAM-DEX, anywhere Visa is accepted, right? Using online store or tap to pay, right? Banking for the unbanked. Traditional banks often require high minimum balances or complex paperwork to issue a debit card. Link allow users to activate a virtual card in minutes using only an ID and a smartphone. No bank account requires. So it gives unbanked Jamaicans a bridge to the digital economy, right? Solving the cash out friction. People are often afraid to put money into a digital wallet if they think they can't get it back out as cash. The link is integrated with NCB's network of over 300 smart ABMs. Right? Users can get cash in and cash out using a QR code at an ATM. Right? So it's there. They're trying everything that they can to push this forward because this is the agenda. Right? This is the agenda and they have to push it. Revelation 13, verse 16, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might what? Buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And we're not saying that CBDCs are the mark of the beast. No, it's just a part of the framework that's being set up for the implantable RFID microchip, which is going to have your wallet on it, your digital ID on it, and everything about you on it. Right? That's the idea. The idea is to digitize the economy, right? Tokenize physical assets and other abstract assets like stocks, so that everything exists in digital form, and then have all of that now concentrated and put on one device to plug into your hand. Right? So hopefully this lesson was edifying. Until next time. Shalom.